Welcome to Trekkie Tuesdays, where we discuss the alternative factor. You know how most episodes of Star Trek aren't at all good? This is one of those. But just it was really entertaining for me the amount of nerd rage that it inspired. We have the Enterprise encounter a perfectly normal planetoid that Spock says has no surprises in it at all. And then this strange thing with strange effects ripples through not just the Enterprise, not just the planet beneath it, but the entire galaxy and even further beyond, centered right where the Enterprise is. Which, this is a common thing in Saturday morning style cartoon sci-fi, where the heroes randomly blunder into something that affects the whole universe. But it doesn't really hold up to scrutiny because, if routinely things happen in random parts of the universe that affect the whole universe, then we should just be constantly experiencing these things, and then it randomly goes away, and we don't know that somebody else somewhere else was having an adventure that stopped it. Yet somehow that never happens. So there's this dude. Kirk calls him Lazarus, and he goes with that, even though Lazarus is a name from the human Bible and refers to a guy who gets resurrected, which is not something that happens to Lazarus. But okay, and Lazarus says hi and then immediately falls off a cliff, and they take it back up to the Enterprise, and then the thing happens again, and he switches places with an identical copy of himself who pretends to be him. And there's a lot of repetition, and then it is eventually revealed that one of the Lazarus is Lazara. I think that's the feminine plural. Is insanely bent on destroying his mirror universe duplicate, but if the two of them come into contact, because one of them is matter, the other is antimatter, it will destroy both the matter and the antimatter universe. Not quite how matter and antimatter work, but okay. And then Kirk eventually blunders into the inter-universe transport device that the insane Lazarus has built, and gets to talk to the non-insane Lazarus, who explains the whole situation, and then for some reason comes up with a plan that involves trapping the both of them in the corridor between universes for all eternity, even though there are so many other options they have. There's really great psychiatric counseling in Kirk's universe, it appears, even if fairly regularly, admittedly, the inmates secretly take over the asylum and trick Kirk into beating him down and then take him hostage. But that's presumably an anomaly. It happens at least twice. But, or they could just trap the insane Lazarus in the corridor and leave the not-insane Lazarus outside the corridor. But seeing as, they've got guns and they got the insane Lazarus surrounded and outnumbered, there's really no urgency towards throwing him into the corridor. But they do that, and then Kirk is very sad that they've condemned both Lazaruses to an eternity in the corridor, because apparently they don't need to eat or anything, but they'll just be fighting each other forever. This episode contains, for I believe the only time, a Lieutenant Masters, who's an African-American woman with a fro. It's a lieutenant, so that's some nice representation here. Apparently, the plan was for her to have a romance with Lazarus, but then they realized that that was going to be an interracial romance, so they cut it out at the last minute to appease Southern censors, and that left a big hole in the script, which they filled by
so much.
That
would have made the episode so much better. Because, when you see this Lieutenant Masters, you're like, she seems pretty cool. I bet she's going to be, an interesting character in this show. And then she's not, really. I mean, she, has a few moments, but it's very quick. My favorite parts of this episode were, 1, Lieutenant Masters, 2, the light effects, which were very odd. You know that thing where, they'll have, a newspaper cover that spins?
Yes.
You know? They did that a lot, but since there's no newspaper, because it's space, it was just like the square of light that spins in and out. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I think if you just watch the episode, you'll know what I'm talking about. They have a lot of like overlap with like some stars and like a galaxy picture or something, and you're like, well, what? It doesn't really make any sense, but that's when you know the thing is happening, and then when the thing is happening, which is really what they call it, like they're not even like giving it some weird name, they're just calling it the thing. Then they have this like, reverse like ultraviolet lighty or something, like everybody's colors are weirdly blue and neon, and you see some people fighting. It doesn't make any sense. This episode seems kind of promising for like the first 10 minutes, which is probably like when they then had to cut things and patch together some stuff that doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
They make vague stabs at technobabble. They lean really heavily in this episode, as they do in other episodes, on the term magnetism and magnetic. Magnetism basically means everything. They conflate it with gravity explicitly at one point, but it's just
there's a lot of
magnets.
Magnets, and then like priority 1, communications 1,
everything
alert red,
1.
like all these like weird. Just what are you even talking? You're just trying to make the excitement there, even though there's nothing like there's very little that happens in this episode. Like actually.
The role of Lazarus was cast as John Barrymore, of Drew Barrymore fame, and also John Barrymore fame, I suppose. And he randomly didn't show up, and so they cast somebody else at the last minute and dragged him onto the set.
Weird beard thing. His beard is notable.
Yes, and changes from like shot to shot as to how shaggy it is. They did not shoot anything in order.
Hey. Bye.